Hello friends, it's Chromatic Sauce and welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we're gonna be watching me tattoo the beginning of a cover-up. I don't know why I couldn't think of the words to say. Basically, I had a client, well, I've had her for a while now. I've done a few tattoos on her, and she previously had a tattoo on her arm. Maybe I could add that in. I didn't add it in yet. I could add it in. She previously had a tattoo on her arm, and then she wanted like leaves wrapping around the background, like fronds, like palm tree fronds and stuff like that, and a fern kind of thing. I think she mainly wanted the palm tree, but then we added another element of the like fern. I don't remember. That one was a little while ago. So sometime last year we added the fronds. Oh, I think it was September last year. That's beside the point. I added fronds to the background of her arm. She realized that the tattoo could be like better or like improved upon, or like that it wasn't really vibing with her anymore. I don't know. It's freaking hot in here. But she definitely wanted it to be a little bit more like impactful, a little bit more fitting with like the big fronds in the background. And I think it was definitely worth it to like go through all that, you know what I mean? She originally had like a little moth and a dagger, and I think she didn't care too much about the dagger. The only thing, she was pretty open about what she wanted. She was open to whatever I thought could really cover it. But she did like the moth, so I kind of like took her suggestions of what she was having in mind. So she kind of wanted to keep the moth. And then I think in the original there were lilies also, so she liked lilies. So we kind of went with that. You know, I like to be extremely open and amenable as long as like my clients are willing to work with me, especially for a cover-up. I'm not like the most well-versed on cover-ups in the world, but I definitely be dabbling. This was probably one of my most ambitious cover-ups I've done so far. I've definitely done like a handful of cover-ups, but this is one of my most ambitious. Like, this is like a quarter of a sleeve, you know what I mean? So, and that's the other thing. It's not just a tattoo to cover. There was like background that I didn't want to go over, that background that I added to recently. So let's just get started on the actual video, because I've been rambling for like 3 minutes now already. So let's just start watching the process. I'm so awkward. It's just hot in here. I wish, like, why is it getting so warm? I guess I don't want to take my flannel off. I want to be cozy. Okay, let's start watching the actual tattooing. So if you don't know, I always post, or I have been posting a sped up version of all the tattoos I've been filming, where I like talk through it. That's this kind of video, like a tattoo talk through. But I've also been just like uploading just the full length process. There's a couple of them that were like when I was dabbling, like my first times filming, but recently I've been just filming the entire process of some of these tattoos. So definitely let me know what you're liking, like what you hope to see from me. Do you even like the tattoo talk throughs? Like, what kind of stuff would you like to see me talk about in these type of videos? Or are you just looking for like technique and stuff? Because I'm not necessarily trying to like give full tutorials, just my like perspective, and like just talk about what I did, because I want to talk about my art. I don't have a lot of people to just talk about it with, you know what I mean? So I always love to get the chance. It's hot, I'm just trying to cope. Anyway, so like I was getting into before we started the tattooing, this one was kind of a struggle to design. First of all, cover-ups in general tend to have an element of struggle with designing. You want to like lay the design over top of the original tattoo in a way that can disguise it even just naturally, like without having to pack color or like white into it. You want to try to get something that's going to distract your eye and break up some lines, kind of thing. So for this original tattoo, if I forget to add the video, hopefully I don't. I'm sure, no. the picture of the original tattoo that she had. I'll probably add it here. But you can see that there's 2 banners that have words. So that's something that's going to be really distinct. Those lines are pretty bold. They're pretty dark still. Now the original tattoo, I think she said was like 4 or 5 years old, something like that. So not crazy old, but not like super recent. And like I said, the fronds in the background, like I only covered up like a small section of that. Those ones were like 3 months, like 3 or 4 months old or something closer to that. So those parts of the tattoo would be more challenging to cover up than something a little bit older. Ink that's been in the skin a little bit longer has faded with the sun a little bit more. You know, the black isn't so rich and black and saturated anymore. And basically as the ink blurs, like it becomes less distinct and the black isn't as likely to like show through a color that's placed on top of it. Now this client wanted to keep it black and gray, so that's like, it's kind of like an additional challenge. Now I feel like the original tattoo wasn't so dark that we couldn't do like black and gray. It just has to be opaques. We can't do like a gray wash kind of thing, because obviously a gray wash is more like watercolor, where the layers, you could see the tattoo straight through that. Now, the original tattoo will always do some like mixing with the tattoo over top, no matter what. The key is for the tattoo artist, well, it's me in this case, I guess, but the key is for the tattoo artist to come up with a design that sort of camouflages key elements of the tattoo and keeps brightness in other areas. That way it doesn't just look like a heavy block on the arm. Now there's some parts for this one, I'm like so all over the place, forgive me. There's some parts for this one that I felt, in some ways anyway, the original tattoo was already kind of like heavy, like the lines weren't very far apart from each other. Now it wasn't blurred and like not distinct. Like I felt like the tattoo was pretty good. Like you could still tell exactly what everything was. It wasn't blurred to the point of like just being a big black blob. Like you could still see the skin breaks. Like I thought it was pretty good, but it wasn't very open, if that makes sense. Like there wasn't that much in the way of like negative space on the like edges of the design, if that makes a lot of sense. But so, that didn't necessarily lend itself to a lot of open space in the very middle of the tattoo, if that makes sense, because I basically had to cover that whole section. So what I tried to do was keep the lilies on the outside as much off of like the dark parts of the tattoo as possible. Now I used the moth in the center, so it would stand out, and then we could get a deep shadow coming off of the moth. You'll see all the coloring in the next video, so maybe I could talk about the lines, since the lines are in this video. I don't know, I'm just talking. I'm sure I'll talk more. I always got something to talk about. But yeah, so I tried to make it so the moth, this is like design. I tried to make it so the moth was in the middle at an angle that sort of breaks up the banner lines and the knife line. Those are very distinct lines that are going to be a challenge as a cover-up. That's going to be a challenge. Anything that's a bold straight line, and especially anything that is like letters, like those are things that your eye is probably most likely to catch, like, hey, that's a straight line going through the whole tattoo. So that's the challenge with this cover-up, of breaking up the knife, breaking up those banners, and trying to disguise that there's even anything underneath there as much as possible. And sometimes cover-ups, or probably most tattoo artists would say the majority of time, cover-ups are gonna need more than one pass to like fully cover and saturate, because it's just a matter of getting more pigments into the skin to really conceal what's underlying. But I was happy with the outcome for the first session, and she knows that it might need another session of just like packing in some like lighter tones on top, but you'll see how it looks in the end. But yeah, so I did the moth in the middle with the darkness on the outside. A lot of moths are pretty light. They have, you know, like the eyes for the wings, you know, like to trick the bugs and stuff, or to trick like other animals, whoever they're tricking with their weird eye wings. I felt like that sort of moth wouldn't necessarily be very good for this cover-up. Like you saw in the original tattoo she had, it was pretty heavy in the middle, and there was pretty distinct dark lines. So I really needed something. Obviously, I didn't want to make it solid black, you know what I mean? But I really needed some heavy blacks to bring out a different kind of contrast, because otherwise you would just see the straight solid lines. I couldn't leave it very open in the middle at all. So I was looking up moths, and you know, I knew she wanted the lilies. Well, I thought so. I couldn't remember, but I kind of remembered. And it was good, because I remembered for sure that she was open to anything. But I remembered right, she did want the lilies. But so I was like, maybe I can do tiger lilies. And then I was like, I wonder if there's anything called a tiger moth. And I looked it up, and there was a bunch of results similar to this. So I came up with a tiger moth that had a lot of black in the wings, that I thought that darkness would do really nice in covering a lot of the darkness, those like distinct lines, all those dark shapes, and the shadows and the wings and stuff are covering all the really dark parts of the tattoo. I don't know if you can really see that much in the video, but you can see the lower banner is like right at the edge of the moth wing, so that way the shadow of under the moth is kind of blending into that shadow of the banner. So the banner's being mostly blacked out there. I don't remember like all the way what I did. I can like hardly see. Can you guys see? I ordered a better light for my videos so that there's not so many shadows in the video, but I can't really do that much about my head. I'm too poor for a videographer, guys, so this is all I can do. But yeah, so I chose the tiger moth for those dark shapes. I felt like the shadow underneath would really disguise the words on that bottom banner, and all the textures of all the shapes of the black would do really good at breaking up the words for the top banner. And then the diagonal of the butterfly adds a nicer flow to the arm just in general, versus the like straight dagger going down the arm with like stuff behind it. The moth has a little bit more of a flow that goes with like the arm on your body, or at least has a flow that is like a little bit more elegant, and that angle I feel like really like breaks up the dagger underneath. Like the lines are a little bit bolder, they're fresher, so they're darker, they have shade, like black shading coming straight off, so that's a much more distinct shape than what's underneath, especially packed with white and stuff. And then I didn't want to go too big. This one was a challenge, like I was saying earlier, because I couldn't really overlap the stuff that I just did a couple months ago. There was a couple spots where I did a little bit, but I really didn't want to take away all of her negative space at the top and the bottom of her arm. She has a little bit of space by her wrist that I did go into a little bit to get like some brightness in the lily. So that didn't have to be like super dark or anything. And then up at the top, we brought it up into her ditch a little bit, but you can still see the negative space between the like fern fronds and the lily, like in the ditch. So I wanted to keep that like elegance of like the negative space in the fronds. I didn't want to fill all the gaps in her arm, not to like leave gaps, but just to create more of a shape and a flow, because you don't necessarily want to cover up that's just like one big heavy block the whole way. Like it, in my opinion, it didn't need to be packed with gray through the whole lilies. We're not even doing the color in this one. Why am I going on and on about the color? If you want to hear more about that, definitely see the next video, and you can see the finished tattoo side by side with the original and see if you can like spot anything. I don't know. As always, like, feel free to comment down below. I'm really open to constructive criticism if you have any, but no rude criticism, and definitely nothing rude to my clients. You know, that just won't fly. I'll delete it. But yeah, I think for this one, I probably used like a 14 round liner for the bolder outlines of the Moth and the Lilies, because I wanted something stronger to stand out over the slightly thinner lines underneath. I wanted it to pop. I wanted that edge to be way more distinct. And then I think I just used a bug pin 5 round liner. I probably used a bug pin 5 round liner and like a bug pin 3 round liner. Something like that. Actually, I might have done like a 14 round liner. I gotta start writing this down, guys. I'm really sorry. I think I used probably like a 14 round liner, a thicker liner like that. Then like a bug pin 9 round liner for like the leaves, if I remember and I'm not fully making this up. And then probably like a bug pin 5 round liner for those thinner lines. Oh, and the reason I chose Tiger Lily to go with the Tiger Moth is because these lilies have like a lightness and a brightness to them, but they have like, you know, those like speckly dots to like, I don't know if that's what tigerizes them, but I felt like those darkness and those dots would do a good job of like, these lilies aren't like a clean, pristine, like white lily. There's like black smudges, there's like pollen on it, whatever pattern that is. So if anything shows through from the other tattoo, it's not just like a smooth gray and it's like, what's that texture? And I also thought any texture that you saw through, no, we're just like, I'm going back into the color again. Basically, I finished the lines. I did those little skinny leaves in solid black, so I think I just filled them at this point. And you can definitely just like come back for the next tattoo talk through where I'm talking about, it's so hot in here, where I'm talking about coloring this tattoo. And it's not in color, it's in gray. But the color gray is a color, not like a gray wash. So it's definitely a little bit different. It's kind of the name of the game with cover-ups. But yeah, there's the line work. It's kind of hard to see what's going on, in my opinion. It was definitely a challenge to see like the stencil over top of the original tattoo. I feel like stencil on top of old tattoo was so challenging because it's just hard to see, and then you're like, the stencil's shiny and you're like trying to get a good angle to like view it so it doesn't have a glare, but that way you see it. And then when the ink starts smudging, it's even worse. But I feel like, you know, every time I do a bigger tattoo that's a little more challenging like this, I definitely learn a little bit more, and I definitely am glad I could have the experience of working on this. And I hope it's healed up well for her, and I can't wait to like see it in the future. Like if she needs a touch up, I'd like to see how this pigment settles in over the next few months. You know, cover up sometimes like it looks perfect right away, and then over the next few months like the original tattoo does show through a little bit. That's just what happens with most cover-ups. And then you're kind of like supposed to come back for a little touch up. Well, maybe even not even a little touch up. It depends on what it is. Like I said, I don't do a ton of cover-ups, but I just know how it goes kind of. You'd want to come in for a little touch up, but you need to give it time. You can't just get a touch up in a month. You got to let it settle in. Is any more of the tattoo going to show through? You want to let all the tattoo show through that's gonna. So if you can hold off like 3, 4, 5 months, if it's not bothering you, like if it's really like showing through, you can come back in sooner. Like as long as it's fully healed, you could probably come back. But in general, you want to let it like settle and really see like how is this settling in, what really needs to be addressed, and to what degree. But anyway, I think I've rambled on about stuff that's not even related to the line work of the video long enough. If you want to see me talk about not the line work of this video more, or maybe I'll talk about the line work in the next one. anyway, you can see that in the next video. Like I said, comment down below. Let me know what you think of this video. Let me know what types of videos you'd like to see next. What types of tattoos would you like to see from me? I'm planning on doing a lot larger tattoos, so definitely stay tuned and check out my website if you want to see some larger, maybe like leg sleeve tattoo designs, full arm sleeves. Like, what would you like to see for that? Because I'd like to do some creative freedom like deals if you're interested. So yeah, definitely check that out. Check out my Instagram. I just got to 3,000 followers on Instagram, so I'm thinking about doing a giveaway, but I haven't figured that out. And it might be done by the time this video is live, so you'll have to follow and stay tuned for another giveaway. Or just check it out and see if I posted a giveaway yet. Anyway, yeah, that's super exciting because I've been working on my Instagram for years, kind of badly, like not very on top of it, just like my YouTube. But anyway, like I said, comment, share, like something. I didn't do it in a good order. Let me know what you think of this design, and stay tuned for my next video. I said bye so many times already. I love you. See you in the next one. Bye.